This is Kanzenshuu, the podcast, episode 397 for the week of February 28th, 2016. Man, we just missed being able to say it's for the week of February 29th. We're recording on the 29th, though. We're late. Welcome to Kanzenshuu,
the podcast,
an extension of the all-encompassing Dragon Ball fan site.
Kanzenshuu.
That's right. We cover anything and everything Dragon Ball in hopes of enlightening a little bit of entertaining. It's Mike and Heath again. Hey.
Howdy, y'all.
Sup, dude? I already asked you because we've already been talking, and it's one of those things like you're recording a podcast, you have to feign interest in the other person, even though I don't really care.
Well, Mike, since we haven't talked yet, I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
That's great. I am lovely, sir.
I'm enjoying a fine wheat ale.
That's right. We've been trading beer choices beforehand. Dude, Dragon Ball Super is kind of weird right now.
It's kind of weird, and I don't know what else there is to say about it other than we kind of saw it coming.
I don't know. Did we?
Not some of what is happening did we specifically see coming, but we kind of, from the beginning, was like, man, this production could be a little bit on the rocks for a while. We thought they kind of, really tuned it in pretty good for a little bit, and now we're seeing a lot of changes, and it's kind of interesting.
As of last week's podcast, we thought things were kind of back on track. That is what we're talking about this week. It's going to be one of those weeks where the news is its topic, and I think it's going to be a rather short and concise episode. We're going to talk about two pieces of news that broke this week with regard to Dragon Ball Super, and one of them is that last week's news appears to have been taken down. So we'll get to that. I was kind of joking on Twitter. It seems like we're about to be due for a what the hell just happened to Dragon Ball Super podcast episode, a la our in 2011 what the hell just happened to Dragon Ball Kai.
We should do like a novel series of a behind the scenes tell-all for Kai and Super, and just kind of
a tell-all from people who aren't actually involved and aren't actually there.
Well, not a tell-all from us. We would just make up what's happening as if we were there.
Sure. Okay. Well, yeah. I like that. That might actually be good reading. So let's just get into it. It's kind of a crazy situation all around. So we'll do some non-super news. That's usually super news anyway. And then we'll go into the bigger news because it's a week about Super. So what do we have that is not Dragon Ball Super related? I think the only thing is Extreme Butoden, the Nintendo 3DS game over in Japan, got another patch. They are up to 1.3 in Japan. I was able to download this and check it out. Another 4 Z-Assist characters. 2 very expected characters. One, okay, makes sense. He's been around for a while. And one that is kind of like the toss away, but is also kind of the greatest inclusion ever. So Extreme Butoden, if you don't know, is I think it's still the latest video game for the franchise, not counting all the multiple iterations for Pog games and card games, whatever's going on in Japan. I kind of can't keep track of what's listed in VJump every month, man. It's like, I know there's Discross. I know there's Heroes. There's IC Cardas, but then there's like some other thing, and I can't remember what it is ever.
They always throw in a bunch of little random things here and there.
And what's crazy is that it's not entirely different from how it's always been. If you go back like 10 years in VJump, I know I'm getting off track, whatever. I'll pull it back around. You'll see. If you go back like 10 years in VJump, there's all those random one-off mobile games, like pre-iPhone mobile games, and there'd be advertisements and blowout features on them. Those are just completely lost to time. So
all the little handheld video games.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. I mean, like, not even Nintendo, not even PSP stuff, like all stuff for feature phones and early smartphones in Japan. You just don't see that stuff anymore. Anyway, pulling it back around, Extreme Butoden, 4 new Z-Assist characters. Champa makes sense. Vados makes sense. Super Baby I was about to say 3. Super Baby 2.
Is there a Super Baby 3?
I don't think so. I think
there is now.
Super Baby 2 makes sense from Dragon Ball GT. Been included in many games over the years. Dragon Ball GT. The inclusions always seem to be more notable and well received outside Japan. But then the 4th new Z-Assist character, Skei-san, the Invisible Man.
Jake.
I was actually going to make that joke. Like, Jake is now an official Z-Assist character. And it's fantastic because the only thing you see are his two eyes.
All right, Jake, it's time to update your avatar.
I don't know what else to say about it. Every time we post about these patches, and I think it got to a fever high with 1.2, 1.3 thing, people are expecting to be disappointed here. None of this stuff has been localized outside of Japan. It seems to be completely dead, completely forgotten. We asked Bandai Namco early on when patch 1.1 came out. They never responded, so I'm going to take that as they don't care. And unless they can tell me something else, I'm going to interpret that way. So I don't know what else to tell you.
I think that's a fair interpretation.
That's the only thing that is not Dragon Ball Super related this week. What do we want to hit? Let's hit the non-show stuff. I actually just posted this today. Shueisha's listing for the first collected manga edition of Toyotaro's Dragon Ball Super manga. That got updated with the page count. We were talking about that last week, how conspicuously missing was a page count. And then they did update with the digital release date, just like Dragon Ball SD for the last 2 years, the digital release date. This is about a month after the print release date. Heath, let me ask you before we get to page count and more speculation there. I was kind of thinking about this. Do you think the reason they're doing a later digital release date is to try to get around the perfect digital piracy of it? Even though at this point, the print scans are going to be online a day before anyway. And at this point, it's already online from the VJump scans.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I don't know that it's going to, do anything really to hinder that, but I mean, it is possible.
Maybe it's just all in their head, like, we think this is going to help the piracy. I don't see what is the point of holding on. I guess the point is sell more dead trees.
I'm all for that because I have a bookshelf.
I know, keep throwing them on there.
Be filled.
So let's go to the page count. Again, comparing to Dragon Ball SD, exactly the same at 192 pages. So I busted out Excel, did a massive spreadsheet comparing page counts and what could be included. Last week, I think you and I decided that the easiest and most obvious thing for them to do would simply be collect chapters 1 through 10, call it a day, maybe include the 2-page bonus chapter from the Jump Victory Carnival book.
Because they're all, about 30 to 31 pages?
No, most of them have been about 19 pages.
Oh, that's right.
It was only this previous chapter that was 31. I don't have the number in front of me right
It was 31, because I remember it was right on the cover.
Right. So the way that I kind of ran down my spreadsheet, if you include chapters 1 through 10, and then if you assume chapter 10 is going to go back to 19 pages, and then if you still include the 2 title pages from chapters 1 and 5, which had their own special color title pages, that perfectly equals 192 pages. That leaves no room for the 2-page bonus chapter, unless you get rid of those 2 title pages or don't count those 2 title pages. That leaves no room for the Resurrection F manga. Those all 3 chapters are about 30 pages each. Something else we were talking about was, well, maybe they do 1 through 6-ish and then include the 3 F manga chapters. Maybe they do 1 through 5 and finish up the F section that he never did because it was only introductory. Going down the spreadsheet here, looking at the pages, it really continues to feel like 1 through 10, call it a day.
I have a feeling that's what they're going to do. It just makes the most sense. It's what's out there, and it's what's been advertised as Dragon Ball Super manga.
Yeah.
Logically, I think that is the route they will go. And
we're only about a month out from it at this point, but like SD for, again, the last 2 years, we don't actually know the exact contents until it comes out. They are very secretive in a way with not exactly outlining what the chapter contents are going to be on these books.
I've noticed this, and it's been really odd. For the past about year or so, anything that's Dragon Ball related, they don't put previews up that you can view on Shueisha's, preview site. Any other series, like One Piece comes out with a new Tankobon, you can go preview it and see like the cover, the table of contents, and then part of the first chapter. Anything Dragon Ball related anymore, even all the full color comics, you can't preview any of them. So you literally have to buy them to figure out what's inside, because we got away with it for a while, or you could just go preview it and be like, okay, that's the contents. Now I'll buy it a little bit later.
And we're lucky if we get that cover art maybe 2 days before the actual release these days.
Yeah, they haven't even been giving it out to Amazon Japan, which is they notoriously leak things way early, but Shueisha just has not been giving it to him. It almost appears on their website a day or two before it even appears on Amazon Japan, which has been really weird. So I'm not sure what is going on, but they're being really tight about it, that's for sure.
I guess it's just more what's going on with the production of everything here.
Yeah.
So that's the manga. Nothing else to say about it. At this point, we will just have to wait until April 4th, is it, when it comes out, and we will see what's in it. Maybe someone will be lucky and grab it a day or two ahead of time, and we'll find out there. Let's move on to other stuff. One more voice update. I think we all basically expected this. Ryusei Nakao back as Frost.
Yeah, I can understand some people and their sentiments toward, they missed a chance to go a different route. And I can see that, but it just, if you know anything about the industry, I mean, they're just going to go with what they have. It's worked forever, and that's what they're going to do. He's not dead. He's going to come back. I mean, that's pretty much how it goes.
Zero chance. Yeah, zero chance it was going to be anyone other than Nakao.
The only thing I would have questioned is, say, Frieza hadn't already been in the series and we didn't have a movie about it, and it had been so long since Nakao had returned to voice him, then I probably would have questioned a little bit more. But, I mean, he appeared in Dragon Ball Super, 4 or 5 episodes ago, so...
I think if he had not been in the show recently, I actually think the opposite. I think it would have been a more obvious case for him to still return as the voice of Frost.
Yeah, I could see that. I just feel like I would have been more open-minded to the fact that, it might not actually be him.
No, it was always going to be him. I expected it to be him. There's no way
they would have done. Because you're in love with him.
I am totally in love with him, but I've seen some criticism of the performance here. It's been one episode. I've only watched it once, and we need to have more time with the character to really learn who this character is and see if he plays him any more differently than he probably could. But
I want Norio Wakamoto to come back at some point. They need an excuse to bring him back.
That's a tough one because he does not play Cell like he did.
I know.
The way that Nakao does still play Frieza the way he did.
But that's the thing. It would, I'm not saying bring back Cell. Find an excuse to bring him back to play somebody else, because then I wouldn't care that, it doesn't sound like Cell.
I don't think so. I don't think you can have Wakamoto play anyone else.
Oh,
no,
Mike.
No. He's not a versatile guy. No, he can only be Cell. I'm saying that from my perspective, but also as a casting kind of thing. He's not like one of the one-off people. No. You're wrong.
No, don't listen to Heath. What does he know? There's your quote for the day.
Did we talk about this quote from Sumitomo in the Dragon Ball Super soundtrack?
He's a fan of Dragon Ball. I learned that.
Yeah, he likes Dragon Ball, and he hopes you give him support. I don't know, man. It's such a generic comment.
Well, and a lot of those are, especially ones that come out with albums.
Yeah.
I mean, they're meant to hit such a broad range of audience that you can't really be too specific, or you don't want to alienate anyone.
No, you're not going to get any hard-hitting information out of a comment from an official soundtrack release. You go down the list of, thank you very much. It's an honor. I've been a fan. We're all working hard. Please continue to lend your support. Did I nail it?
I really thought he should have put a P.S. I didn't steal any of this. That would have been just hilarious.
That would have been pretty good.
Although that's kind of in contention at the moment as well. But we won't get into that.
Maybe he did write that at the bottom of his scribbles and they decided not to include that. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes here. Heath, let's first do a follow-up on what we talked about last time on the show, and that's King Ryu, who that's a synonym for whoever this person is. We gave a little bit of his history there. Had put up a blog post
Correct.
of his own volition, even saying that he had been named the series composer, which again, we need to point out, doesn't have anything to do with music. That's just the way that title works. So that blog post doesn't exist anymore, huh?
It does not. I'm not exactly sure when it got taken down, but as of yesterday, when I checked, it was gone. We've gotten a lot of comments from people about it, or questions per se. We're not exactly sure what it means, but if I had to read into it, I'm personally just taking it as we don't really want you to make that so public. Can you take it down?
One of those, we don't want to actually acknowledge that there have been issues to warrant there being a series composer.
Exactly. And then part of it too is also he's not officially credited as such in the TV series. And series composer, kind of like I said, composition is essentially head scriptwriter. Is the best way to actually think about it. So you can almost kind of see it just by looking at all the upcoming episodes and see that he has been the scriptwriter for almost every episode since the Champa arc started. Mm-hmm. So I think in that way it's kind of clear. So it'll be interesting to see moving forward. Does anyone actually step in and do an episode here or there? Does he get a break? Or is he literally, as the series composer, he is writing every episode? So we'll kind of see. But I wouldn't be too jump the gun on this, because I had some people ask me on Twitter earlier today, do I think he got booted off in some way? And I don't see that happening at all, but that's just me. I think that would be way too brash of a move to just promote someone and then out of the blue, out of nowhere, just goodbye.
Yeah, they're having enough problems as it is that to take vengeance on someone is just kind of kicking their own ass.
Well, and it's something that we've seen before where someone just makes a comment. We've seen it from Funimation, people posting things and not quite realizing what they're saying, or a picture they're posting of something, perhaps. And when everyone goes, hey, oh my gosh, you guys have that. Oh, crap, delete. Yeah. And so, it's very common within the industry for that to happen. So I wouldn't read too much into it, but it is definitely interesting that it was just very quietly removed.
All right. You mentioned one other thing to me about his blog before we started recording. So can you explain what was going on and what is now going on?
So even leading up to King Ryu posting about his promotion, per se, to series composer, he had been kind of somewhat reviewing the episodes as they had been airing. A lot of it was, hey, here's the next episode preview, here's who wrote it, and whatnot. It's really been toned down as of late, more of a promotional tool, more or less, rather than somewhat of a review. So I don't know if someone really got on there and was like, we want you to take this blog post down, and can you really tone down critiquing?
Things only get more interesting from here.
Oh, joy.
What else is going on with Dragon Ball Super, Heath?
Well, amongst other things, as of the 33rd episode, which just aired the other day, I don't normally review the opening credits near as much as I review the ending closing credits, because a lot of times those are very episode specific, and once a series begins, you rarely see something major happening to the opening credits, which is typically reserved for more series type staff, as opposed to episodic
Akira
staff
Toriyama,
right?
Music and opening theme and that kind of stuff.
GT had a lot of changes throughout, but if you go back to, say, the original Dragon Ball, it virtually all 153 episodes, the opening credit, literally stays unchanged. Dragon Ball Z had a little bit difference because they switched up terminology, and it was 291 episodes. So there were a couple turnovers when they hit the 200 episode mark. But anyway, for Dragon Ball Super, it kind of slipped through for a little bit, and our buddy Jacob kind of caught on and said, hey guys, did you notice this? Morio Hatano, who has been an episode director for episodes 6 and 14 for Dragon Ball Super so far, which is his only affiliation with Dragon Ball to this point.
So just Beerus stuff early on, and then in between stuff. Okay.
Has been promoted, basically, or appointed the lead role as series director alongside Kimitoshi Chioka.
Yeah, Chioka was a name we got from literally the first announcement of Dragon Ball Super, right?
Which was really exciting because he had done storyboarding on Battle of Gods. A lot of people were familiar with him because he famously has done a lot of very good storyboarding for episodes in theatrical films. So we were really hoping this meant good things for the series. And what's really odd about this is at the point that this is happening, that Hatano is essentially taking over because he's credited as lead in this new credit, which normally does not happen. But Chioka at this point has not storyboarded or directed a single episode of Dragon Ball Super.
That's crazy. I just pulled up our initial post about it back when it was announced on April 28th. The new TV series will be directed by Kimitoshi Chioka, and we noted there. We had 3 other names at that point, actually, so it was 4 names total. We had Osamu Nozaki from Fuji TV and Naoko Sagawa from Yomiko Advertising as producers, and then we had Aitsushi Kido from Toei Animation there. Chioka being that first 4 total names there. From the very beginning, it was like very public, very right there, always right there. And here we are 33 episodes in. It's kind of like a never mind.
Yeah, it really caught me off guard because, I mean, we were expecting some things were kind of changing behind the scenes, but I personally thought that was more in the scriptwriter department as far as King Ryu.
Right.
Kind of being promoted. I didn't really see this coming because it's not very often that you see 2 series directors, and there's a lot of speculation as to why this is happening, and I don't know how much of that you want to get into.
Well, let's toss some of those out there, and then maybe we can evaluate whether or not we think there's any truth or, I don't know, validity to them.
So, more often than not, when you see someone be promoted to series director, it's alongside whoever is currently the lead director. And it's an indication that they are not able to properly manage the series all by themselves, meaning that there's just too much going on and they're having a hard time keeping up because at one point in time, there are typically 4 episodes, possibly even 5, under production all at once. So it's an ongoing thing, which is why you have various different teams working on things, and your series director oversees all of it. So we know that they've been having scheduling issues and trying to keep up with things, so that's also part of it. But then I also feel like that's not quite the case, just from the fact that Morio Hitano now is the lead, because typically when you come in just to assist in keeping track of a series and manage it, you don't automatically get bumped into lead. You are behind the lead and you're just there to assist, essentially.
Assistant lead, yeah, or assistant to the lead, sure.
And one thing that has been brought up, and I purposely did not include it in the news post because I did not want to really throw this speculation out there without there being any solid evidence of it.
All right, so we're kind of putting it in context here as we don't really think this is a thing, or how do you want to phrase it?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I think this is more of the forum that we could have this discussion because it's a lot easier for me to explain why I don't think it is than in a news post.
You get tone of voice along with it. All right, sure.
So one thing that often happens at Toei is when a series director kind of, I don't want to say steps back, but their responsibilities lessen and a new series director steps in and kind of takes over, is because the lead director is now heading up some sort of other project, whether or not it's related to that specific franchise or series. It just means they have less time commitment and they need someone to step in.
So an example here could be, like, we know there's a new One Piece movie, and we probably already know who the staff for that is, but say there was a One Piece movie, say there was a World Trigger movie, I don't know what else Toei has right now. There's a new movie coming out, and whoever this person was, well, now they need to be working on that, so we need someone else to come in and help a little bit.
Right.
And I can clearly see where the stretch of logic here is that I think you're going to go with, and that's, well, maybe there's a Dragon Ball Super movie gearing up to be in production, and Chioka needs to go work on that.
Right. Which is one theory that has been floating around. And I hate speculating on that openly in a news post that's filled with facts, because I don't want anyone to get misconstrued that I'm pointing this out because I think it's a fact.
Right. And I hate to say that's not the place for it when I literally did just that with the Dragon Ball Super manga volume, but I feel like that had more concrete things to point to. This is just like totally baseless speculation.
And we've had a lot of issues with rumors of new movies.
Yeah, why would we even do that? Sure.
Yeah. I could see that being a possibility, but I don't want to make that leap at this point without anything more to really back that up, I guess, is where I will leave that.
So what do you think is happening, Keith?
So then the other possibility is not only is he not able to manage it, but everything's become such a mess that he said, you need to get somebody in to help. Or I don't want to say he told them he's going to walk or anything, but he's definitely having issues with certain things. And I will preface this by saying things that are out of his control, just pre-production has been taking so long. It is really hindering all of the animation and other processes. It's eating up so much time that everything has become so crunched, and this is terrible.
Hold on, I do want to talk about that. Let's go back to the literal beginning, something we've talked about. Dragon Ball Super was announced in Japanese and in English.
Yes.
And this is how we've talked about this, with literally nothing to show. Remember, we didn't even get a logo for a while, and then it wasn't even the final logo. Then we got a corrected logo. Like, from the very start, it's been, there's a show coming, we think? Like, that's how it's always felt from the beginning. So let's take it further to what you were just talking about. What have been some of these, let's call them problems, if not just flat out normal differences in the production schedule, maybe compared to other shows or even compared to the original version of the show?
Okay. So kind of like you mentioned, from the very beginning, things have kind of been questionable as far as scheduling and production time, almost right off the bat, kind of like you mentioned. And what's really been starting to happen is it's become much more apparent. And a lot of it is actually resulted in animators and staff members taking to social media, and more so not people that work directly for Toei, but freelance animators that have been subcontracted, complaining about how little time they have to do things and things like that.
I want us to make that clear. This isn't just us speculating based on the condition of the episode. This is literally people who literally work on the show, that literally live over there. I hate to use that word over and over, but it is the case. These are the people giving us not just the evidence, but the facts.
And we have been hearing for a while from other sources that was the case. And then a lot of these animators and other staff members have really kind of stepped forward and just said, oh, don't judge my work on this because I was only given so much time to do it. And I think most recently, I can't remember who it was that posted it, but said, I had 10 days to do layout checks on key animation. And that in the industry may sound like a lot, but when you're doing an entire episode, 10 days is really, really short, especially when you're doing revisions. And a lot of times it sounds like the animation director or supervisor has very little time to even do any corrections. So they just pick the most major ones they possibly can and call it good.
And so is this all kind of what happened with episode 5, the notorious, infamous episode 5?
Yep. I will say they've done a better job of covering up having these days. I don't like how they're doing it because they're using a lot of motion and blur effects as people are fighting. And I know what they're trying to do, but
how much of that is also related, I hate to pull it back to some of the stuff that we saw in Kai, but toning down the flashing lights, which of course still stems back to the Pokemon incident, but toning down kind of the levels on that and not so much strobing, that's probably playing into that as well.
Yeah, that's part of it.
People just aren't used to seeing that in Dragon Ball because it's been so long.
But a lot of what's been happening, that's kind of the gist of it, essentially, is things have been changing in the pre-production process so much and so late in the game that it's really cramping the actual animation process, and they just don't have the time to do what they need to do. And I've even heard from people that have messaged me on Twitter and Facebook and, that's a terrible excuse and I hate it. And I don't know what to tell some of those people. Just because you don't have time, so how are they supposed to create more time? And that's always been a hard question to answer because there's really no good way to do it. Do you want to have an every other week series? But the way Toei works, that doesn't really help them out much, because what Toei would do then is, well, now we're going to pitch you off on another series because now you have what we essentially think of as twice the time to work. So
exactly. You go back to Sailor Moon Crystal for the ultimate example of what happens when the show goes every other week. Nothing changes.
Right.
I think it's really important what you were saying there is when we answer this, and I've coined this term, the Dragon Ball Super Defense Force, I don't want it to come across that way. Don't misinterpret our explanation as being this corporate defense for Toei, because I think we're all in the same boat as everyone. We want the show to be awesome. We want it to be amazing. We want it to look great. We want it to sound great. And we're just as unhappy as everyone else when there's a shitty animation day. That being said, not 33, but 32, I had a fucking great time watching that episode.
I agree.
So I don't know. It's a tidal wave week to week. That's probably, you don't want to talk about tsunamis with regards to Dragon Ball in Japan. But all right, that was poor choice of words there, Mike. Sorry.
It's been interesting because for so long, there hasn't been, I want to say, probably because the series is so old as it was, that when it did come over, people noticed it, but it wasn't, it was thought of more, well, this show is old, so it's okay that it had bad animation days, and it's just so funny now, look at it. But now that it's recent and it's current, and I've seen so many comments of, oh my God, it's 2015, it's 2016, this should not be happening. And it just seems like, I don't know, because I don't want to really diss on anyone or anything, but that's a really bad way to look at it and kind of reflects not much knowledge of the production process, which I don't want to blame anybody for, because unless you're really into it, I wouldn't go searching for it either. But you kind of have to understand and maybe feel for at least the animators and some of the production staff, because a lot of them are very upset with it as well. They do not like what's happening, but they don't have much of a choice. It's hard for an animator to have a job when it's already hard to get a job and just say, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm out of here. Now I'm going to go live with my parents. Right, what are they supposed to do?
I hear you. Yeah, it's definitely, you don't have to love it, but maybe have a little compassion at the same time. All right, at this point, I do want to start wrapping it up because I'd love for it to be a shorter episode that I can easily crap out this week. So let's turn it over to Twitter. We asked out there, what do you think needs to happen with the production of Dragon Ball Super, if anything at all? Maybe you don't think anything needs to happen. And we got a ton of responses. We got so many responses here just in the last, 2 hours. There's no way we can read them all. But we'll kind of pick and choose as we go through here. So I'm just going to kind of start at the beginning here. Nosa, I think it is. I want them to slow down. Unless something big is coming, it seems they're rushing the tournament too much. I think that's a response to the Goku versus Botamo fight, which was half an episode.
It was so fast. I could not believe how fast episode 33 was.
Yeah.
It just, so many things happened that you felt just needed to be drawn out more. And man, they flew through that. I was almost really surprised just from the fact that Dragon Ball Super Chapter 9, up until that point, they had been kind of staying in line with the manga and kind of pacing it out. Man, they just flew right past that. And now in a month, you're like, gosh, how's Chapter 10 going to go? So this will be interesting.
And we don't know if Chapter 10 is going to, again, go back down to about 19 pages or stay up there. All right, let's just keep jumping around with comments here. Awesome Possum. I think this goes back to what we were just talking about, Heath. Take a month break. Yes, ratings and cross-promotion are very important for Super sponsors, but come on. Heath, like you were saying, they could take a month off, but the way this industry is run right now, that just means that they're going to work 4 times as hard on 4 other things and not work on Super for a month. That solves nothing.
It's just kind of the way of the industry to not do that unless you are already doing that from the beginning, because then you're kind of admitting that you screwed up, and they do not want to do that. It's kind of the save face sort of thing.
All right, Powerful Lou Man, 2-part tweet. People broke the Cardinal Twitter rule with multi-part tweets, but we'll let it slide this time. Let King Ryu have fun with telling whatever story he wants, but keep it paced well. And in terms of overall production, have someone slap Sumitomo's hands next time he gets on that keyboard.
There you go. That one's from Mike.
I think we'll come back to Sumitomo stuff there.
We have Soapfish. Toyotaro's manga version is amazing, so the pieces for greatness are all there. The show just needs an actual animation budget.
So how do you want to answer the budget question there? Because is that necessarily the issue? I mean, of course, you want to pay animators more and you want to pump more money into the show, but is time more the issue than the actual paying for it.
Yeah, at this point, the way everything seems to be going, no matter how much you paid anyone at this point, isn't going to make the show vastly improve if they don't have more time.
Yeah, they can love it all they want. They're already pulling insane hours.
Yeah.
But I guess the counter to that would be, well, look at what happened with One Punch Man. Those were animators that ostensibly working for the same rates, across the board with freelancers and in-house employees. I'm talking a little bit out of my ass here. But people look at that and say, why did that look so much better? How do you respond to that?
Better preparedness, better planning, better pre-production. Yeah. I cannot stress enough how much pre-production plays such a crucial role, because when you start an episode, at least a production process of a single episode, it all hinges on how the pre-production process goes, because that's where your story is established, your storyboard, and all of your animation is going to be based off your storyboard. And then those are given out to all of the key animators who come up with layouts that establish all the keyframes and the backgrounds. And then from there, almost nothing changes or should not change. And what we've been finding is animators have been posting keyframes that they've drawn all the way to completion that are not being used. Things that are being dropped, things that are being changed. Characters that were designed one way and all of a sudden the episode is now another way.
Yeah.
Those are the things we've been seeing on Twitter, which really leads one to believe that things that should have been established in pre-production are now being changed in the middle of...
Oh, so late in the game.
Yeah, that it is changing everything, and it's having a huge ripple effect. And it's just cutting down on so many things. And it's really sad to see, because a lot of them, from what we've seen, are very passionate about it and they want to produce a very good product, but they just can't. They're being hindered. And that's, to me, what is really sad to see, because these things should be panned out ahead of time. And it really goes to show how much pre-production is just crucial. And hopefully, having two series directors and an actual series composer that can write better scripts, at least consistently, hopefully helps. And I think that's what they're shooting for. And that is at least one good thing to see, is that it does appear that they realize they have issues and they're trying to correct them the best they can.
Yeah.
Whether it's going to work or not, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Only time will really tell.
Is throwing more people at it a solution for you still don't have enough time? Who knows?
And I guess one thing to even point out is, episode 33 just aired. And this was the first episode that Morio Hitano had been credited in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just based on production schedules, more than likely he was promoted right around the same time that the Champa arc actually started premiering. So it almost seems like when the Champa arc went into production, they got partway into that and said, oh man, we are having huge issues, and that's when he was promoted. So again, it goes back to that pre-production process. So that's one kind of interesting thing that I got out of it. Anyway.
Cyajin Slayer says, scrap the show and make movies instead. If only.
That is one option. I don't see them scrapping a show mid-production, because that would admit so many things that they probably don't want to admit. And they're already so vested in everything. Yeah. One can hope. One can wish.
Well, let's do one more, because I could read comments about Sumitomo until the cows come home, and I did appreciate receiving all of those, because when you validate my feelings, you get on my good side. But Richard says, more imaginative fight choreography, not treat their biggest international success like it's just another kids show. That's tough, because it literally is just another kids show. But
yeah.
I feel like we've been saying for a while now, Dragon Ball really is more than that. You look at the success it has worldwide, and it does warrant being treated better and planned better than it is. I don't think anyone's happy about it, but that's the situation they've put themselves in. And I feel like they're stuck now, and we're stuck as fans, and that's tough.
And then, we should say there are plenty of people out there that are really enjoying it. And I've enjoyed watching most of the episodes. There are some that definitely, the animation takes you out of it. The musical score takes you out of it, what have you, or anything that you find you want to nitpick about, because everyone's going to be different. I definitely agree that the choreography is one thing that has just not really hit home, especially in this recent few episodes.
Yuppers.
I don't know. One thing that you kind of brought up is how, well, the last tweet brought up international the show is, and still to this day, it astonishes a lot of people that there's been no simulcast or anything like that. And again, I think that really does go back to a lot of forethought for this happening. And I got into a discussion earlier that someone said, well, this is all Bondi's fault that they were pushing this. And
we know that's not the case, because Bondi would have had a completely different series if they got their way in 2009.
Exactly. And the fact that this aired when it did, I still kind of, my gut tells me Toriyama kind of came up with this idea of maybe thinking ahead for another movie or something, and Fuji TV had a time slot open because Kai was ending, and this thing got rushed so fast that this is what is happening now as a result of basically jumping the gun and, hey, let's do this, we got to do it really fast. You know, it really makes one wonder if they would have just, okay, let's produce another show for like 6 months, you know, a short little series, and give ourselves a nice lead into production of this.
No way. They're not gonna waste that time slot on an experiment.
No. So I'm just saying it would have been really interesting if that actually would have happened, and kind of seeing a little bit of a difference in the series, but who knows? One can wish.
But them's the breaks. And let's bring it to a close there. I feel like we explained things, and per the norm, we didn't really answer any questions. We just gave more questions to think about. And I don't know. That's just how we roll here.
It's so weird, though, because you'll watch one episode and you're so happy. You're like, that was really fun. I enjoyed that. And then the next episode, you're just like, what was that?
It really has been like that. Last week to this week, it's been like a coin has flipped.
And it almost makes you wonder, like, I wonder if this is what syndication was like back in the 90s.
There's no way to compare it, though, because while there was an internet, there was no social media. That is like the defining thing about the way that Dragon Ball Super is airing today. It changes everything. It changes the way that fans express their opinions, have their opinions validated back at them, have their opinions chewed up and spit back at them. The way that, like we were talking about, some of the production staff can actually air some of their grievances about it. Like we were talking about with King Ryu's blog post going up and back down. This stuff never happened because it could not happen during the original syndication of Dragon Ball.
Or if it did happen, it was like on a radio interview that nobody was recording.
Right.
So there's no documentation of it. What's going to be really interesting moving forward now is Dragon Ball Super going to blow past, is a TV series going to blow past the manga? It'll be really interesting to see how some people react, because then the first time you're seeing anything new is going to be through the anime. So that'll be kind of intriguing.
Yeah.
And it'll really make you wonder if a lot of the things that have been happening in the manga that everyone's been saying, oh, they're changed in the anime, is that going to kind of flip-flop, or is it now going to become so consistent because the anime is now so far ahead that Toyotaro now knows what they're what Toei is doing?
Something to write based on. I know.
Yeah, interesting stuff.
www.kanzensshuu.com. That was Kanzenshu. We ended up doing pretty much a normal length episode anyway.
And we could go longer if someone would let us.
If someone would let us. What, is that someone me? I do have to go.
I'm not naming names.
All right.
But
I feel like it's impossible for you and I to get together and record a show that doesn't dip below 45 minutes.
It's good for everyone.
Everyone except me, because I'm the one who makes the damn thing.
And because you're on the East Coast, so you're an hour later than me.
I am, yep. So it's time to go crash with Futurama. Heath, anything you want to talk about on the site?
We have new stuff coming.
You and I are doing lots of cleanup right now.
We are. I've been doing a lot of cleanup, a lot of jumping around. You can pay attention to that if you want. Nothing super major, but it's been kind of nice.
All I've been doing is finding more CDs that I think I need to purchase, and it's a dangerous rabbit hole to go down.
That is a downward spiral. And it's all Sumitomo music, right?
No. There's only one thing. I already own it. No more.
Oh, there will be more, my friend. And you shall own it.
I'm sure there
You
will
shall
be.
own it all.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I've accepted my fate. So we gave the site address. That's Heath. I am Mike. We got a Julian. We got a Jake. This has been 397 of our podcast at kanzenshu.com. We will see you next time for a slightly more different topic. I think it's about time we do something that is not super. People are clamoring for super content. I think we've delivered in spades here over the last few weeks. I'm about ready to go back to something completely different that has nothing to do with production. We'll have to come up with.
You're not
going to
go with my topic?
No, I'm done with you. I actually need to find someone else to talk to.
Fine. I see how it is.
Heath, wrap it up.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. This has been podcast 397. Only 3 more left, and we're like 400 years old, right?
That's how that works. Yes, every episode is a year.
It's like dog years or cat years, but podcast years.